Hello, friends. How's it going? Good to see you. Welcome to the unbelievable Minecrafting server. We are here today on the spawn block, just like we were at the beginning of last episode. Why is that? Why would I do that? The reason is because we are celebrating today, not the anniversary of the server, but the 10-year anniversary of me playing Minecraft for the first time. Yay! Hooray! Now, how do I know that? Well, it's quite simple. On Xbox, it tracks your achievements. And that's where I first played Minecraft, was on the Xbox 360. I went to Best Buy to buy an HDMI cable. And I saw Minecraft there on an end cap for 50% off because of an Easter-related sale. And I'd always wanted to try it out, so I picked it up. And the very first achievement you get in Minecraft, believe it or not, is for opening your inventory. And I got that achievement undoubtedly the first day I played Minecraft, which, based on the timestamp, was April 23rd, 2014. Hooray. Yay. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take you on a little tour of my Minecraft journey over the last 10 years. Most of the worlds I played on, not all, but most, I still have. So in this video and the next few videos, that's what we're going to do. Take a look at everywhere I've been. This first video, we're going to start with my very first world. I named it Island Fortress, which was a joke because it was a cobblestone hut on a tiny island. But I did a couple other cool things there. We'll mostly go in order of the worlds I've played on. Believe it or not, in 10 years, I haven't played on many because I stay on them a long time. In addition to the first world, in this video, I will be going over what I'm calling my lost worlds, in which either the file got corrupted or I never owned it to begin with, because I was playing on someone else's server. I do have pictures though, so I'll be showing those at the end of this video. But let's take a look at what is in store for us over the next few episodes, shall we? Yes, let's. I thought I'd start off with a list of the worlds that we'll be visiting here in these next few videos. So let's take a look, shall we? We're going to start with Island Fortress. We will then be going in the same video to Eden, which I did not own and is now lost. We'll be going to Aru, Temp Aru, Dig-U 1.0, Dig-U 2.0, which unfortunately is lost due to file corruption. Dig-U 1.5, which is a return to Dig-U 1.0, but has a 0.5 just to distinguish that it was Java instead of Bedrock. We'll be visiting 2 Playhouse survival multiplayer worlds, and finally, we'll come back here. Now, you may notice there's some overlap in the dates, and that's because sometimes I play on more than one server at a time. So that explains that. But without further ado, let's go check out the first world, Island Fortress. And here we are on Island Fortress. Welcome to my very first Minecraft world. Technically. See, Minecraft worlds require seeds, which we've discussed, and if you're not familiar with, well, just go to the wiki and it will explain it. But basically, you put a number in and it uses that number to generate everything that happens in the game. So I put in 0, didn't like the world. Put in 1, didn't like it. Put in 2, didn't like it. Put in 3, and it was this one. And I thought, yeah, I like this one. So I stayed. I played here for about a month and a half. And I had some friends come on. I had some random people I met on Minecraft forums come on. I became friends with some of them. Still talk to some of them. Some of the people I knew in real life. But this is the spawn area that we built. And we'll kind of go over that here in a second. But behind me is sort of the big reveal, I guess. Yep, pyramid and a tower. And a couple other things we'll get into. So you come out here and you know, head off wherever you wanted to go. One thing I learned on my very first world was preservation of the landscape. To build that pyramid, I needed a lot of sand, so I basically dug out the entire coastline. Now back then, you actually wouldn't have been able to see this coastline from over there because render distance, believe it or not, was only 4 chunks. That's 64 blocks. So from over there, you couldn't even see over here. So it didn't really matter as much back then. Whereas now, I think my render distance, I have it set at 32 chunks or something like that. Yeah. But one other thing to keep in mind as we walk around this world, this is from 2014. There were way less blocks in the game back then. Way fewer features. And also, I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning how to play the game. For example, I didn't know about enchantments. And we'll get into that a little bit. And how that affected my gameplay. But let's go find my first house, which is what this world is named after, Island Fortress. Now, I could fly over there, but I think I'm going to mostly walk on this tour so we can kind of get an idea of how things were back then, because we're going so far back that actually the elytra did not exist. You could not fly back then. There weren't rockets either. In fact, the end didn't even have the outer islands or cities or ships. The only thing it had was the central island with the dragon. And you killed the dragon, and that was basically it. There was no point in going to the end other than to say, yep, I killed the dragon. So, as I said, we're going to head over to my first house. I think my original intention was to replace these dirt blocks with a more aesthetically pleasing bridge, but I never got around to it. Which we'll get into my departure from this world here later on in the video, I think. I did build this nice walkway. But yeah, what we're coming up on here, this is my very first house. At the time, I just wanted an island that was really small with a tree or something on it to get some wood, because I knew that mobs spawned in the dark, and I knew if I could get on an island and light it up that mobs wouldn't bother me, because I was bad at the game and they kept killing me when I was on the mainland. That's actually why I chose this server. It was the number 3 as the seed, was the first server I got that had an island close to spawn, which was this island right behind me, which I built up a little bit. It was a swamp at the time, but back then the water was not different colors to the extent that it is now, so it was harder to discern that. But let's walk around it and go in, shall we? Just a very, very simple cobblestone hut. Not very big, not very pretty. And here's the back. There's the back door. And here's the front door. Now, folks, this is some real history. I built this house 10 years ago to the day that this video is uploaded. So, welcome to my very first Minecraft house. And just in time for dark. As you can see by the lighting here, I really wanted to make sure that nothing that could kill me would spawn in here. I didn't know what the lighting mechanics were. I just knew that I needed light, and I was living in Berlin at the time, which had a lot of brutalist architecture, which I think to this day has affected my building style. And that's why I would just boom, 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 boom with the torches. 'Cause I was scared of, mobs spawning in here, especially creepers, and blowing up my stuff and me, but also because that's just the architecture I was used to seeing at the time. That West German brutalism. I was living in West Berlin at the time. Yeah, I had some just storage here. This is where I kept my coal. This is where I kept my potion stuff. I don't remember what I kept in there. I don't think I had any rhyme or reason to the shape of the house other than it kind of matched the shape of the island before I built the island out a little bit. I had a couple beds. When my friends came on, we'd I'd have one for me and for them, because back then you didn't have one player sleep. Everybody had to sleep, or nobody slept. Then I had my storage, which when I converted this world to Java, it split a lot of the chests in half, and I guess I just never fixed these. You can see kind of what my thinking process was back then, and how I organize things. It's changed a lot in some ways, and in other ways it's quite the same. Like these days, I wouldn't put wool and dye in the same chest, but back then it made sense to me. They were color blocked, I do still put my weapons and gear in the same chest. I typically don't have a chest for books. I don't ever have enough to warrant it. I still put technical and mechanical things. That would be like pistons and buttons and fence gates and that sort of thing. So, that's my redstone chest. These are my torches chest. Can't believe I actually left dirt on the floor inside my house. I definitely have come a long way. And maybe it's not because I'm so great now, but because I was so bad back then. Oh, hey, look. I never noticed this before, but my skin matches cobblestone. How about that? That's where I kept my pet food, because I had dogs. This was the basement. Went down to my mine. And some other things I found down there. I tell you what, let's sleep. And then we'll walk around some more of the world. This will probably be the shortest of all the world tours, because I was here for the shortest amount of time. Other than one of the multiplayer worlds that I didn't run. But anyway, let's keep moving. Here's where I did enchanting. I remember I had a reason for glass being up here, but I don't remember what it was. I think I may have originally had my... Oh, it was this here. It was this. I knew that rain could fall through glass or something like that, and I wanted to be able to see the sky but still have a roof, and that's why I went with that, I think. Yeah. So that's my roof. Got a nice view. Again, back then you couldn't see very far. Like, I don't know if you even could have been able to see the pyramid back then. So now you've seen the roof and the beautiful views that you couldn't see back then. Let's take a look out here. This is where I was experimenting with crops. I just kind of grew a little bit of everything. I quickly learned you could walk on lily pads, so I kept them between the rows to be able to keep everything irrigated but have nothing fall in. I don't know if I thought that netherwort had to be irrigated. It doesn't. And I may have just done this to be consistent with the other things, or I may have just not known it didn't need irrigation. Back then, I didn't know about golden carrots, and for all I know, I really don't remember if they even existed back then, but I subsisted off of baked potatoes. But I grew all the crops just because I was learning the game. I was experimenting with things. I got my wheat, cocoa beans, sugar cane. I think I grew some vines as well, some cactus. Yeah, here's the vines. And then over here, you can tell by the shears, this is where I would keep my sheep and my cows and my chickens. I still use this today where I have a double entryway so that I can get in and out with an extra step to prevent animals from escaping. But I think I kept all the cows in this pen. And I think I kept the sheep in this pen. And I kept all my chickens for some reason in this giant pen down here. So cows, sheep, chickens. Don't know why I thought I needed a pen that big for chickens. Yep. That over there is literally just a stone hut that a guy who played for like a week and then I never saw again, he built it. I think we named the rail thing after one of the trains in Berlin. There used to be a minecart here, but like the animals, I guess maybe it didn't make the conversion from I was going to say Bedrock to Java, but technically this wasn't even Bedrock. This was Legacy Console Edition, which is even earlier than Bedrock. Back then, the maps were much smaller as well. In fact, if I go to the middle of the world, which I did mark out at one time, because I thought the coordinate 00 might be something important. They're not. But that little stone square right there marks the center of the world. So we'll just fly up here. And then sort of gaze around. You can see the entire world from the center of the world here. Back then, you could see 4 chunks. So it seemed much bigger than it was. And being that I was so new to the game, and you know, a scale of that size seemed massive to me as well. Even if I could have seen further, this still would have seemed huge to me, more than I knew what to do with. And as you can see, I didn't even come close to filling it up. But let's head back over this way. I believe this was my attempt at a squid farm that at one point with the mechanics of the game did kind of work. I don't think it would work the way the spawning mechanics function these days though. But yeah, the squid would spawn here and then they'd get pushed to here and they'd die, and then I'd access their ink sacs just by walking in there. Very, very rudimentary. Because back then, believe it or not, we didn't have hoppers. You had to collect everything manually. There were no hoppers to feed things into chests for you. We didn't even have horses or rabbits back then. We didn't have colored glass. We didn't have concrete. The only colored block we really had was wool, though a few months after I started playing, we got stained clay, which was eventually replaced by, I believe, terracotta. I'm not even sure if stained clay is still in the game. But anyway, here's our nether portal. We'll go look at our nether in a bit. Here is the first statue I ever built of an Enderman. I just completely free-handed it. I imagine that's obvious because it's not very good. You can see his eyes up there. The best I could do with the skills and the blocks I had at the time. I was fascinated by the Enderman the first time I saw one. I didn't know what it was. And to this day, it's probably my favorite mob. I just think they're neat. This was my first tower that I ever built. I knew I wanted to tackle something like this, and this was my first major build. It's a replica of the media tower in Berlin, known as over there as I believe the Fernsehturm. But this was just me sort of working out, like, how does building something up work? You know, I didn't even put stairs in it because I didn't even know about stairs. It's crazy to think the things I just take for granted now that I had no idea about back then. But I guess I gave myself roof access because once I got up to this third level, I was like, okay, I get it now. I understand how this is going to work. And I, to this day, actually do things like that because I like to be able to get on the top of things I build just to be able to look around. I think it's so cool all these years later to be able to see like that feature over there. I had planned to do something with it back then. I hadn't determined what, but I was gonna call it Brontosaurus Mountain and build some kind of dinosaur related thing around it, but I never did. Let's take a look now at some of the farms and things I built, which again are quite rudimentary because we didn't have the stuff back then that we do now. There was so much manual farming. You'd automate what you could, and we did the best we could with what we had, and we liked it. So, I tried to sort of make a compact farm area. This, if I remember right, this is 3 or 4 farms in one. I'm tempted to turn it on to see if it still works. One of these is a stone generator. I think this is the stone generator, and that's a cobblestone generator. And basically, you just turn it on and you mine. I don't know if it still works though. I don't even remember how to use it. No idea. And the thing is, I didn't know about Silk Touch So making a stone generator was effectively the same as making a cobblestone generator, because I'd still have to put the stone into a furnace, or rather the cobblestone into a furnace to get the stone back. Because if you don't have silk touch and you mine stone, it turns into cobblestone. So you put it into a furnace and you turn it back into stone. And in fact, that's how every single block on that tower was made. I mined the stone into cobblestone, put it in a furnace, and smelted it back into stone. So that was very resource heavy, because I also had to make sure I always had coal. If I had known about silk touch, I certainly would have used it, but I didn't understand the benefit of enchantments back then. I know there's an enchantment table on the roof of my house, but that didn't come until right before I left the world. It's one of the last things I built. But this one, I think the way it works is, well, it used to work. You'd turn this on, it would hit this repeater. There must have been redstone that connected that right there. Well, there is a torch down there. Oh, now it's going. Okay. So I think the way it works, let's try it out, is you mine here. Yep, and it just replaces the cobblestone. Because cobblestone is generated when lava and water meet in a certain way. And stone can be generated when lava and water meet in the opposite way. Like when one falls on the other, it creates one, and when the other falls on the other, it creates the other. I just heard it drowned. Back then there weren't drowns, so my island was much safer then than it is now. Let's continue. This farm has one more feature to it. It's also a mushroom farm. So the way it works is, you have mushrooms scattered about up here. I guess there used to be one there. Don't know what happened to it. There, I fixed my 10-year-old farm. And basically, if you have mushrooms here, they can spread to adjacent blocks within a certain radius, provided that the light level is low enough. Now, what the light level is, I don't remember. I don't really farm mushrooms anymore. And most of the farms I was building back then, I didn't really need either. I just wanted to build them because I was learning how to play the game and it seemed fun. And to this day, I enjoy building farms. So this one, you just basically let them spread on their own over time. And then when you get enough, you flick this lever, it lets water out, and it pushes the mushrooms down to you, and you just harvest them that way. So yeah. I'm going to put them back, though. So that's how that worked. This was my tree farm. I did have more types of trees on it, but for whatever reason, I must have been in need of a lot of spruce and only planted spruce at the end. Or I just decided I didn't need trees for a while and I liked the aesthetic of the spruce. I don't know which. But yeah, I would just come out here and chop my trees and plant them again. I didn't even have a thing that limited their height. I just planted them and went. Until the Caves and Cliffs update a couple years ago, Y11 was the level to mine at for maximum diamonds, so that's why I have this here. But I have many entrances to my mine. I have been since the beginning a person who, their playstyle, I would give myself multiple ways to get everywhere. I just thought it was fun, and there was an economy of motion to it. I think this is where I was testing out color palettes, but I don't remember what I intended to build with these colors. And I don't think I ever did build anything. I certainly don't recall it, but I always tested my color palettes right here. Who knows what that was intended to have been? It's lost to history now. But let's go down in my mind and take a look at that. We'll take the back door. Again, multiple ways. Multiple ways. We got through here, got down here. I wonder if it has anything to do with the house that I grew up in, because it had 2 front doors and a back door. And then several of the rooms had 2 entrances as well. And maybe that's just something that was imparted to me by virtue of the house that I grew up in. I don't know. It was tiny, and yet it still had these features. I think it was probably less than 1,000 square feet, but you could access almost every room from 2 ways. Don't know. I am not a psychiatrist. I am a cobblestone impersonator, as you can see. Anyway, let's go down to the mine. I don't even know what I was doing here with these 2 things. Maybe there was some ore here. Maybe I had a plan. Maybe I just wanted them to be even, or I wanted this thing to stick out and look cool. I have no idea. I don't remember. As you can see, I didn't put stairs here, but I did a thing I still do to this day. I put a clock in places where you can't see the sun, because I like to know if it's going to be day or night when I exit. I obviously did not know about branch mining, which for a long time, until the Caves and Cliffs update a couple years ago, was the most efficient way to mine. I guess this was some sort of rail I made myself to not fall down there. This is where I picked up the squid drops, I guess. Yes. Would just stand here and wait for squids to go in there and die, and then I'd get their ink. It might be the most inefficient farm I've ever made. So we'll keep going down. Oh, are these stairs? Nope, they're not stairs. I still didn't do stairs. And here's where I found my first abandoned mine, and I had no idea what it was. But it led to something else. My first XP farm, which I kind of made by accident and then realized what it did, and used that to level up so I could enchant. Back then you couldn't use levels to mend because mending didn't exist. But I think it's over back this way, down this way, and then to the left, right up here. There'll be a spider thing, spider spawner, which we called the Ziggy Stardust Memorial XP farm. Not a very good farm, completely manual. You have to stand here and wait for them to spawn. And then they couldn't get out because they were too wide, and you would just kind of stand here and hack at them with your sword. And hope that the XP drifted close enough to where you would absorb it. It might be too bright in here right now for them to spawn. I think it probably is. But then I had another farm, and I think it was up back this way. And I am certain it won't work anymore because of the conversion. But it's my slime farm. And it was kind of similar to the spider farm. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, but I saw things happening, and I tried my best to exploit them in a way that made sense to me at the time. Again, we didn't have a lot of the automation back then, and we didn't have a lot of the blocks back then, and even the wiki wasn't fully developed back then. So everything was a learning experience, and it was so much fun. But this was a slime chunk, and I didn't know what a slime chunk was. I just knew that slime consistently spawned in here. But as I said, since it's got converted to Java, it's no longer a slime chunk. But they would spawn in here, and I had the fence down here so that they couldn't get through, but they would still see me, and then they'd chase after me, and I'd hit them through there, and then once I killed them all, I'd hit the button, run in, and pick up all the slime that dropped, and then I would run back out as they were spawning again and wait for more. Super inefficient, but back then everything was. But then I think we can continue down the stairs. I don't come back to this world and visit it, really. Isn't kind of crazy though how you remember where things are, even if you haven't been somewhere in a long time. Okay, I'm on Y25 now, but for whatever reason I started digging here. Maybe this is before I knew about Y11. Back then I liked to dig 2x3 and sometimes 2 or 3x5 wide tunnels. That was how I mined back then. And I would just go and go and go. Oops. I'm curious how far this goes. I remember digging this. I would put something on the TV, and I had my Xbox hooked up to a computer monitor, so I could kind of just get into this and then, binge something on TV, whatever that might have been. I always did this torch thing when I went caving, so I would know where the exit to the cave was. But this is how caves used to look in the game. One thing I always did too is I would leave water and I would leave lava because I thought it just was visually more interesting. Because if you notice down here, there's nothing but dirt, stone, and gravel. There's no andesite, there's no diorite, there's no granite, because back then underground was nothing but dirt, stone, gravel, and ores. That's how basic things were back then. Ooh, I think that might be... Yep. Here's the other way down. Okay, that's definitely... So you come down the stairs, and then you're supposed to, like, come around down here. Actually, now that I think about it, this used to be, there was a block here. And I would come down there. That's right. I wonder if I moved it by accident or an Enderman did or someone else who was on did. I don't know. But then this took you all the way down to Y11 if I remember right. Yep, we're on Y10 according to the mini map, but for whatever reason I thought this was Y11. Maybe I thought Y11 was where your head was. And so I did it that way. But I didn't even branch mine, like, or tunnel mine down here. I just cleared it out, as you can see. And I would try when I could to leave features like this because I thought they were interesting looking. And I'd clean them up a little bit with things like this just for the visual appeal of it. I mean, this is as basic as it gets, but it was new. And it was fun. I wonder where this goes. I don't remember this. Oh, this goes into the pyramid. That's right. We'll go look at that in a bit. I think my goal at one point was I wanted to mine out the entire world at this level just to see what it looked like. And I didn't get even like a quarter of it done, but the progress I made in just a couple months is fairly impressive. Back then you had world borders, not like the ones that I set up manually on the Unbelievable Minecrafting server to hold off on terrain being generated until it was put in the game. But like this wall used to be a world border, and you couldn't mine it. That was the edge of the world, and it was, I tell you, the most frustrating when you would get on it and there'd be ore here. Like, you couldn't mine this back then. That was just part of the. It was the world border. You couldn't take anything, so you get coal or iron or redstone or lapis, or worst. The worst was when it was diamonds. But yeah, that's the underground part of the world. Oh wait, there is one more thing, if I can find it. And it was lower. Yep, here it is. So there was an achievement to travel 400 blocks, I think, in a minecart that I wanted to get. So I dug this tunnel for that, which seemed crazy to me at the time because the world was only 800 blocks wide. So it boggled my mind that they expect you to travel half the world. Now 400 blocks is nothing. Oops. Let's see just how far it goes. I think I may have ultimately made this longer than 400 blocks because there were some things I found that I thought maybe this would be a faster way to travel to them. Or I may have just been on a roll where I was enjoying having a long rail system. I don't remember. I vaguely remember this, but I don't remember where it goes. Maybe I was thinking I would have it go in a big circle. Clearly there's something up here, because a tunnel leading up. Okay, I made it go to the stronghold, which I did not know what the stronghold was, to the point I don't think I ever I found the end portal. I remember finding it and not knowing what in the world it was, that it would take me to another dimension. I knew about the nether, but I didn't know about the end. But I do remember finding the end portal and not knowing what it could possibly be for. And I remember thinking that maybe if I put some stuff in those slots, it might do something, but I didn't know what it was in those slots or how to get them. Obviously I'm talking about the Eyes of Ender. Yeah, I had to put that there. Interesting. I wonder if I was marking that off as, yep, this is the way. Oh, well, yep, I was marking that off as this is the way to go. Because there's the end portal. Yeah, and as you can see, I never went to the end on this world. I did destroy the Endermite spawner. It makes me think, maybe I should never go to the end on this world, just to maintain that history of it. So we'll head back over to how I found the stronghold here. This is a good segue into that, probably. I can't believe I never installed stairs in here. I remember when I discovered stairs, a friend of mine was playing on the server and he put them on, and I was so impressed that you could do that so you didn't have to jump on every single one of these to go back up. Now here's why I put clocks on, so I know now it's going to be I mean, if I didn't have the mini map, which I didn't back then, I would know though that it was almost sunrise by looking at that clock. Oh, and here's a map of the world. So you can kind of see the square around the map. Eventually the maps were bigger on Xbox, and so when that happened, you could expand original maps, but it would give you this very, very straight line edge where you could see where the original map was. The game is much better at blending things now. But that was a thing that we had to deal with back then. Oh, one other thing I used to do right over here. I specifically remember this, and with Grian's quest for obtaining a mending book from fishing being such a main part of the Hermitcraft storyline recently, it made me think of this. I used to stand right here and I would just fish for hours, literal hours. I thought it was so much fun. And here we have another German inspired rail line name. The way I got to the stronghold was originally this way. It's been 10 years and the grass is still not quite spread all the way across. Just because people don't hang out here enough for it to be loaded. But this is how I originally marked it. So I would know when I saw this, I was close to the stronghold, and then I marked the way down here. And I'm pretty sure it was this room right here that I tunneled into by accident. And that's how I found my first stronghold. Didn't even know what they were. Yeah, I keep switching over to my rockets because it's my habit to fly over to things, but I just want to sit here and experience the world the way I did back then when rockets weren't a thing. So I'm gonna walk. Maybe the last thing we do before we look at the two major components of this world is we do go look in the Nether, because I want to go. I remember the Nether in this world and how it was set up. I had a very scary experience there, and I didn't spend a lot of time there because I didn't understand what you could do there or what was needed or anything. And now here I am going in without any armor. At least it's on easy, right? It was at this point that I realized that because the sizes of the worlds changed between Legacy Console Edition and the conversion to Bedrock and then the conversion to Java, that the coordinates inside the Nether have changed, and I did not end up where I thought I was going to, because instead of having a 3-to-1 distance in the Nether, there is now an 8-to-1 distance. So I went back in creative, and that's what you're about to see. But what you're seeing right now is me being chased by a piglin, because I forgot that in the original Nether, there was no such thing as piglins, and you didn't have to wear gold back then, and I wasn't prepared at all. So I had to run away from a piglin till it changed into a zombified one. And what you're seeing now is just some footage of me in the Nether in creative, flying around, showing what was there. But in watching the footage again, it's just not that interesting because I didn't really do anything there. So I'm going to cut the whole thing and just leave this part where I'm talking about the Nether and now why the Nether's not in the video. What I really remember about the Nether is this stretch from here over to the Nether portal, and wanting to get down here but being frustrated that I had such a hard time getting down there because ghasts and things were shooting at me. And now we'll go to the pyramid. Now this I'm kind of proud of. I'd only been playing the game a couple weeks, but I managed to do a push button door. I'd seen it on the internet, and I looked up how to do it, and there you go. Oh dear, I didn't run through fast enough. And then it opens with pressure plates on this side. And I wanted to make it like kind of a maze in here, all sorts of crazy things going in different directions. And to that end, I did quite a bit. I think this one opens on the other side near the corner. Yeah. No point to it other than I just thought pyramids should have corridors that lead all over the place. So that's how I built it. Looks like I missed a spot on some of my sandstone. That would not fly today. I would not let that stay that way. I'll talk about that down there in a second. Let's see where this goes. Oh, okay. All right. So this was supposed to be like a secret temple. I didn't finish building it, but it was like just a back entrance. We found kind of like a cave, small cave, and we thought we'd turn it into like, it was going to be like an ancient Egyptian temple, and this is as far as we got with it. It was going to be like just some like Egyptian looking statues and designs in the wall, and then I remember the idea was to build a temple into the side of the pyramid at the entrance to the caves. That was what we were going for. That was the aesthetic we were looking at. And you can see we accomplished the very basic skeleton framework of the idea. Conceptualized, not all the way to fruition though. And that up there is what what you could do in the way of decoration back then. Not too much. There just weren't as many blocks back then. Wait a minute. Is this what I had decoy tunnels? That must have been what that was. I would have dead ends on purpose, like to mislead you and be confusing, and I just got myself 10 years later. So this was an elevator. I'm not going to use it because I was on here a couple years ago. It's been 3, maybe 4 years since I've been on this world, and I remember it doesn't work anymore, and it also does not shut off. So I'm not going to turn it on. But the way it worked is you push this button and then you stand. Well, first you'd stand right in the middle, as close to the middle as you could. You want to get your crosshair like as close to the lines between the pistons as you could. Then you'd hit the button, and one piston would fire, and then the other piston would fire. And in conjunction with these pistons here, it would sort of push you up, one side at a time, quickly enough to where you wouldn't fall, and it would take you all the way to the top of the pyramid. I think this was another way to connect to. Oh, this is where that. Okay, that's one of my decoy tunnels, but I have 2 decoys leading to the same dead end. I wonder if I had another block under that and just, for whatever reason, it's not there anymore. But the pyramid was actually my home as well. After I moved out of the hut, I moved into the pyramid. And very, very basic decorations here. This is supposed to be like a couch area with a fireplace. This was the elevator. The walls were torn down because when it stopped working at one point many years ago, I decided I wanted to try to fix it. I never could, but it brought you to right here, and it did work. It did actually work 10 years ago. It wasn't practical, it wasn't efficient, it wasn't faster than just walking up the side of the pyramid necessarily, but it was fun, and that was the point. Was not, do we need an elevator, but can we build one that works? And it went down too. You could take it to go down. I tell you, I'm tempted to try it out, but I think it would be too loud. Maybe I'll do it off camera, or I'll do it at the end. And if it works, then great. And if it doesn't work, then we don't have to listen to it on the rest of the tour. But this is supposed to be like a pool table. This is supposed to be like a computer. Like that's the screen and that's the keyboard. That's the tower and some buttons, I guess. This is supposed to be a TV and a little sitting area. It's my bad. And then we have one more level at the top. It's really just for the view. which at the time the view stopped like before that outcropping that I dug out. And now you can see all the way to Brontosaurus Mountain. Like, you wouldn't have been able to see my house or even this tower. The tower would have been too far away back then. It's given me, I'll tell you, it's given me some feels being here and looking back at this and talking about it. Minecraft became just such a huge part of my life, and my free time and the people I met through playing it, and my entertainment has shifted from television and movies to YouTube and Twitch because I just love watching people play, and they inspire me and make me want to, try out things they do or try out a thing inspired by what they did. And just standing here looking at where it all started 10 years ago is, it's a emotionally powerful moment for me. And it's kind of cool that I get to share it with anyone who watches this video. But moving on, the whole point of this world was this tower. And after I show you the basement of the pyramid, we'll go over to the tower. Then we'll move on to pictures of my lost worlds, and then we'll wrap up for this video. But this was my storage room. I went a little overboard with it. I basically set it up and then never stored anything in it because I moved on to the next world. But storage, crafting, smelting, potion area. Can't believe I put the potion thing on the floor instead of putting it on something. Even putting it on the crafting table would have been better. This is my second enchantment area. The reason it's set up this way is I haven't talked much about enchanting in my series because I use villagers to do enchantment instead of enchantment tables. But if you surround them with bookcases, they give you better enchantments. It's why it's set up this way. I didn't understand villagers back then. There are a couple villages in this world, but the villagers, of course, all died as villagers do. And I didn't know what they did. I saw you could trade with them, but the trades didn't seem good to me, and I didn't understand how you had to unlock the good trades, and I just didn't know. But yeah, this is my storage room. The elevator was supposed to also go down to here, but I don't think I ever quite worked that out. Yeah, I ended up just sealing it off because I couldn't figure out how to work a stop in the middle of it. I mean, again, that's Java level stuff, and this isn't even Bedrock. I was on Legacy console. We had nothing. And we loved it. We still loved it. I guess this was just room to expand, which is another theme I kept, was whenever I build a storage room, I build extra stuff so when more blocks come in and get added to the game, I have a place to put them. And this went down to the mine. This is that other ladder we ended up not climbing because I wanted to save the pyramid for later in the video. But now, the whole point of the world, other than discovering Minecraft, my main goal on this world was that tower. All my resources went into that tower. I built that before I built the pyramid. And as I said, it's a replica of the media tower in Berlin, which is where I was living at the time. Though I had come back to the States for a month to take care of some things when I picked up Minecraft. So I built that tower from basically, I started on it the day after I got the game. So that would have been April 24th. And I got back to Berlin May 4th. So that's how long it took me to build it, because I finished it the day before I got back to Berlin. It's not to scale or anything like that. I just kind of eyeballed it. I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I said, back then I didn't know about enchantments, so I would mine stone. I'd get cobblestone. I'd throw the cobblestone in the furnace, and then I would use it to build this thing up. Which at the time seemed so big to me, but now it just doesn't really seem that impressive. I could probably build this in an hour or two now. Except for the sphere at the top, that would take longer because I'd have to use a plots modeler, but there it is, the Berliner Fernsehturm, or the Berlin Media Tower. Can't believe I left dirt there. That's a bit embarrassing. This is supposed to be the Berlin flag. Maybe I can throw an image of the Berlin flag up on the screen so you can compare the two. That's the German flag, and these are supposed to be very, very minimalized, stylized versions of the flag on the floor. But this is my first chandelier. It lights up the room, I'll give it that. I have more dirt in here. I can't believe I did that. And it appears I didn't know about carpet because I used full wool blocks instead of carpet to do this. Water elevators did not exist back then. Those didn't exist actually, I think until 1.16, which came out in 2018, I believe, 2019. So 5 years ago ish. I didn't even put railing around this thing. Unbelievable. I do remember why I have a window at this level. There isn't one in the actual build. Oh, the view up here is great. Yeah, there isn't one in the actual build, but this is the cloud level. I have clouds set to where I either had them really super high or turned off. I don't remember which. But back then you basically your options were off or on, and I liked them on at first. Don't worry, I learned my lesson and eventually turned them off like everyone does. But this is the level that they were at, that they came through, so I built a window thing just so I could kind of look at the clouds coming through. I thought it was neat. And then we'll keep going up. And I'm thinking of this song from Sesame Street when I was a kid. It had a frog, a tree frog, climbing a small tree. And it had this sort of bluegrass type singer singing about how it's a long, hard climb, but I'm gonna get there. I can't believe I did that. I worked so hard to make all these stone and I left one cobblestone. Why would I do that? And then years later I come back and realize that I look like cobblestone. So this is where I kept my supplies while I was building. I don't know why I have cobblestone in here, but as you can see, I ended up with way more stone than I needed. I would basically just let it smelt in my house down there while I built up here. Because at the time, I don't know if this counts now, but I don't remember, but at the time you had to be within 20 blocks, not vertical, but horizontal, of a furnace for it to work. I think you can be farther away now, but I don't remember exactly how far. But here's sort of a little balcony thing that I made. Just to be able to look around. And here you can actually see so far now, compared to back then. You can see where the world ended, where it just cuts off so abruptly like that. There's over there one of the villages. I think that's another village over there. Very, very tiny, a single building village with a well and a farm. Looks like well, you know what? They may not be rendering. I don't know if I took that one or not. A better village. Yeah, so at least 3 villages, but all the villagers are dead because I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know that they were worth saving. Almost looks like one of those isometric iPhone games from this angle. But this is the first sphere I built in Minecraft. I did not use Plots Modeler, which is what people do when they build things like this nowadays. I didn't know about it. I did it just by hand, and eyeballing it. I don't know how good of a sphere it is, but I think considering yeah, it's not completely even like in places like that, but I was new. I was learning. It's not too bad for the way I did it, which was just eyeballing. And back then you couldn't get in pre-cam like this. You were stuck in yourself. So yeah, I think I did pretty good. I wonder if my lights still work, because my very first redstone lamp thing I did was here. It is working. I remember this is one of the first redstone things I googled, because I put redstone lamps at the top of the tower, and then I wondered, can I make them blink? And I learned how to do that with this setup here. And 10 years later, it still works. That is, I'll tell you, that is super satisfying. After all these years, to see that it still works. One of the first redstone mechanisms I did. I built this as a surprise for my friends to see when I got back to Berlin while I was in the States. I thought, oh, they'll really be impressed by this, and actually that's silly to think that they would have been, but you know what? They actually were. They really liked this thing. It was a big hit when I got back. Everyone wanted to see it and walk around in it, and I enjoyed showing it off. And at the time, it did feel like an impressive build. These days, not so much, but this right here is the building that got me hooked on the game. More cobblestone, or as we now know, me. All right, I'm gonna do my best to center on the pistons. It's very tough. It was actually much easier to do that in Bedrock. There was less drift. Okay, I think we're there. I'm gonna push the button. That was anticlimactic. Nothing. Okay, well, I think we'll call it there. So thanks for watching. And we'll wrap this episode out with a short photo tour of Eden and Dig You 2.0. First off, we'll do Eden. This is the spawn area with a dragon hotel and some beaches. This was my first house on that server, built into the side of a hill. This is my second house near the spawn area and the floating islands. My house is to the right, and there's the front view of the house with another tower and a giant statue, or rather a statue of a giant. Ultimately, I lived in the nether tower, and then I lived in that UFO. There's a creeper farm to the right there. And over on the left, you see some Egyptian buildings. There's another shot of a fountain and the nether tower I built. Another shot of the fountain from a view where you can also see the UFO I lived in. Better shot of the UFO and a red Baron plane I built. And same thing, but daytime, and then with the giant statue, and now he's got googly eyes. More of the Egyptian Mayan area, and more of the same. And then nighttime view of things we've already mentioned, and more of that. An interior of the UFO that I lived in, with some experiments going on. Another nighttime view, this time of the creeper farm and a bit of our rail system. There's the party pig, as we called it, smoking a cigarette, wearing sunglasses. Another nighttime view of my area. A couple smaller buildings I built beside the nether tower. That's a bridge I built between my area and the Egyptian Aztec area. More of the Egyptian Aztec area, but facing towards my area. Below you, you see a cathedral I built next to the party pig, and there's my plane as well. Just a shot of the bottom of the nether tower and a fountain with the giant's legs. There's my potion bottle building next to another building by the nether tower. There's a better shot of the party pig. And here's a shot of the cathedral. And there's the graveyard behind the cathedral. And the next few shots will be more graveyard shots. Next are elevated rail line. More graveyard shots. I will point out, this was actually several years before Season 6 of Hermitcraft. So our elevated rail line was older than theirs. And it went all around our world. There's a blimp I made. Another shot of the blimp. Here's some floating islands a different person made. I think her name was Chicky. Another shot of the same islands. And one, I believe, final shot of the floating islands. That's the first boat I ever made. I found a tutorial on YouTube, and later found that tutorial on YouTube was based on one of the original Minecraft books that taught you how to do things. Melon and pumpkin house me and a friend made. He made the melon one, I made the pumpkin one. Someone asked me to clear a jungle for them, and then never came back to the server, and I built that ship with all the logs. That was the moderator area, which I was a moderator, and that's where I had an area. And now we will move on to another Lost World, Dig You 2.0. So this was our town hall on Dig You 2.0. Unfortunately, no interior shots survive. And this is a shot that includes part of our shopping district, which shows a slime shop, a golden carrot shop, an ink shop, a book shop, and a light shop, as well as an iron shop. This was my base. It was a Rubik's Cube. And the next shot coming up will be the same thing, but with shaders, which make it look pretty good. There you go. I lived in a giant Rubik's Cube. And the next shot will be the front of that base, but before it was completed. And the next shot will be an interior shot of the base before it was completed. And unfortunately, that's all I have left of that world. So that concludes the tour of the Lost Worlds. Well, my friends, I thank you for watching the first part of my several part 10-year anniversary. The next video will be taking place on a world called Aru, which I am presently standing on the spawn area of. You will get to see the rest in the next video. And then we have a few more worlds to cover after that. I'm sort of going to make the rest of April my 10-year anniversary extravaganza of all the worlds I've ever played on. I hope you enjoyed the first one, and if you did, then you'll definitely enjoy the next ones, because as time goes on in the last 10 years, I get better and better, as anyone would. Anyway, thanks for watching. You've been wonderful, and I have been Captain Incredulous. I'll catch you next time.